Grief saved me.
Casualty of war.
Pauley Perrette's story is one that blends resilience, trauma, and transformation. Known to millions as Abby Ciuto from NCIS, she was the quirky, gothic heart of the show. But behind the iconic character and the laughter on screen was a woman, navigating battles that very few ever knew. Allegations, safety violations, and fear of a co-star pushed her into therapy just to cope. CBS may have thought their settlement would bury the truth, but at 56, Pauley is finally ready to share what really happened in those final years on set. Pauley Perrette was born on March 27, 1969, in New Orleans, Louisiana, but her childhood was far from stable. Her father worked in the railroad industry, and his job meant the family was constantly on the move. By the time she reached her teenage years, she had lived in 14 different places. She never stayed long enough to feel like she belonged. But this nomadic lifestyle taught her valuable skills: how to adapt quickly, how to read people, and how to blend in wherever she went. Though she was born in Louisiana, she always said Alabama felt most like home. Growing up in the South gave her a deep sense of adaptability that would later help her survive in Hollywood's unpredictable world. Even before the world knew her as Abby, Pauley had her sights set on crime fighting. Unlike most kids who dreamed of becoming astronauts or athletes, Pauley was drawn to real stories about criminals and the science used to catch them. She also toyed with the idea of joining a rock band, working with animals, or even becoming an FBI agent. And she meant it. After high school, she pursued criminal justice and earned degrees in sociology, psychology, and criminology. She even began a master's degree at New York's John Jay College of Criminal Justice. What drove her wasn't fame or success, it was the question of why people could hurt others without remorse. That question followed her for decades, but her own brush with violence changed her life forever. While living in Atlanta in the 1980s, she was violently mugged. The details remain scarce, but the impact was life-altering. Instead of letting the trauma consume her, she turned it into fuel. It gave her an even stronger reason to study crime and fight for victims. From then on, she used her voice to speak up for people who had been hurt, always remembering the fear and pain she had endured herself. Her college years were anything but typical. In Georgia, she studied hard and kept her grades up, but when she moved to New York, life became even more challenging. To make ends meet, she pretended in underground clubs, passed out flyers on roller skates, and even cooked meals on dinner cruise boats. Sometimes she only had enough money for the bare essentials, yet she pressed forward. Her appearance fit the gritty New York scene: combat boots, a mohawk, and tattoos that spoke of rebellion. But these weren't just survival jobs. They gave her a raw education in human behavior, something that would later make her acting so authentic. Her tattoos became a trademark. At just 15 years old, she got her first one, shocking her conservative Southern community where she had been raised in a strict church environment. Movies and television had been discouraged in her childhood, and she often looked like the perfect Southern girl with blonde hair and pigtails. But tattoos became her way of breaking free, expressing who she really was. Over time, she collected around 20 tattoos, turning her body into a canvas of self-expression that defied her upbringing. By the 1990s, she had moved to Los Angeles with just $71 to her name. Survival wasn't easy. She crashed on friends' floors, walked dogs for $5 a day, and even did voiceovers for dial-in song services to pay rent. During one of these struggles, she rescued a pit bull named Cease off the street, a dog that would change her life. Cease deepened her lifelong commitment to animals, and years later, when she clashed with a co-star over an aggressive dog, her bond with Cease made the issue even more personal. Her acting career began almost by accident. She wasn't chasing Hollywood fame, but rather trying to survive. One day in a coffee shop, she overheard someone talking about a casting call for the Drew Carey show. She went, landed a recurring role as Darcy, and slowly built her resume. Guest spots on Frasier and Murder One followed. Then came small film Roles like Almost Famous, where she worked alongside Philip Seymour Hoffman. These weren't glamorous parts, but they gave her credibility and experience. Everything changed in 2003 when she auditioned for NCIS. Walking into the room in baggy jeans and sneakers, she was far from the gothic image Abby would become, but creator Don Belisario reportedly said immediately, "That's her." Abby wasn't just a role. Pauley's caffeinated energy, warmth, and quirky humor made her a perfect fit. She didn't have to act, she just had to be herself. Fans loved her instantly, and Abby quickly became the heart of the show. Over 15 years and more than 350 episodes, Abby Ciuto became one of television's most beloved characters, but while fans adored her, behind the scenes, Pauley was struggling. Her work ethic was unmatched. She studied real forensics, learned DNA analysis, and immersed herself in science so Abby felt authentic. She also gave back, supporting programs like American Humane's Pubs for Patriots, which paired service dogs with veterans suffering from PTSD. Yet, as the show's success grew, so did the tensions. In 2016, a terrifying incident on set shattered everything. Mark Hamill, her co-star and executive producer, brought his rescue pit bull Dave to the set. The dog attacked a crew member, causing injuries that required 15 stitches. Despite warnings, Hamill continued bringing the dog back. Pauley was shaken and furious. She filed safety complaints and insisted that the dog be banned, but CBS allowed it back. From then on, her contract stipulated she would never share a scene with Hamill again. Productions had to work around them, filming on separate days and stitching together scenes in editing. In 2018, Pauley walked away from NCIS. The following year, she broke her silence on Twitter, saying she was terrified of Hamill and had nightmares about him attacking her. Behind the scenes, she had already filed 3 separate HR complaints and even hired a private investigator to document safety violations. CBS quietly settled with her for somewhere between $5 and $9 million, attaching a strict non-disclosure agreement, but her public words carried more weight than any settlement. Fans were shocked, and Hamill never responded. After leaving the show, she attempted a comeback with the sitcom Broke. The premiere drew over 7 million viewers, but ratings quickly collapsed and the show was canceled after 1 season. By July 2020, she officially retired from acting, tweeting in rainbow colors, "I'm free." Offers for roles in Law and Order, SVU, and The Good Doctor came, but she turned them all down. For Pauley, peace mattered more than money. Her life took another frightening turn in 2021 when she suffered a massive ischemic stroke at just 53. For 36 hours, she couldn't speak, and doctors didn't expect her to survive. But she did, thanks in part to her rescue dog Rosie, who pawed at her until she sought medical help in time. Once again, an animal she had saved her in return. Since then, Pauley has sought healing in quiet places, spending time at Benedictine monasteries where she found her own form of spiritual peace. She prays daily, "Thank you for everything, and forgive me for everything." She has also devoted herself to advocacy, funding animal rescues, producing documentaries like Studio One Forever about LGBTQ history, and quietly paying funeral costs. For a young NCIS fan who passed away from cancer, Pauley also refused to compromise her values, famously turning down Playboy offers of nearly $1 million. She didn't want to be objectified, especially while young girls looked up to Abby. For her, strength meant saying no, even when the industry expected otherwise. Perhaps the most striking revelation came in 2023, when her will was leaked, valued at over $22 million. Her estate left nothing to family or friends. Instead, every cent was directed to no-kill animal shelters and the Innocence Project. 60% for animals, 40% for freeing the wrongfully convicted. She even requested that her ashes be split, half scattered near a dog park and half at the rescue center where she found her first dog. Pauley Perrette's story is one of transformation, of trauma turned into purpose, of fame traded for peace, of a woman who gave far more than she ever took. To fans, she will always be Abby Ciuto, the caffeinated goth genius with a heart of gold. But in truth, her real-life legacy is far greater. It's written not in television scripts, but in the animals she saved, the victims she defended, and the peace she finally claimed for herself.